What's up YouTube, ProDangles here. I wanted to talk to you about how we set up this Golem speedrun and things we can do in the future to increase the time, or decrease the time, sorry. I think a sub 4 second time is definitely possible. And even on this run, it could have been sub 4 seconds, and I'll get into why. So first of all, how did we do this? So we built a series of boxes, basically a cage to spawn the Golem in. Down here is the lizard altar, and we use that to spawn him. Basically, my friend stood right here, spawned it, and then dropped away so he wouldn't take aggro or do any damage. Just spawned it and dropped. And I stood right here. Can I get up there? Sure can. I stood right here and shot down. So it took us about 10-15 summons to get this cage exactly how we wanted it, and it's still not perfect. But basically, the way we've got it set up now is his body will spawn, his body and fists will spawn in this lower box, and his head will spawn in this middle box, and I stand in this top box. And we had to make you can see the shape of this box is kind of odd. You know, this section is wider than this lower section. So these lower blocks right here, these corners, stick in because his feet are exactly this wide. And doing this made it so he couldn't go left or right at all. He just couldn't move left or right. So when he spawned, he was stuck. He couldn't move left or right. And then these are wider, so his fists have room to spawn him in this box. Because if we made these walls as wide as where his feet were, he would spawn up here on top of us, and the box was useless. And then so his head would spawn in this top box. And you know, a trick we use to kill Golem faster than a lot of people have been able to do it is we took advantage of kind of a I don't want to say exploit, just a I'm not even sure how to describe it. Basically, Golem has two stages. Stage 1, you kill his head and his arms, and then stage 2, you kill his body. And after you've killed his body in stage 2, he's defeated and dies and gives out drops. Now, stage 1 can be passed by only killing his head and not killing the arms, because we found out his arms don't share an HP pool with his head during that stage. So it's possible to defeat the Golem without even hitting one of his arms, not even doing one tick of damage. So we took advantage of that and built this thing accordingly. We put these blocks right here, these 2x2 sets of blocks, and his arms, he would try and punch us, but he couldn't. And so we made it so, since he couldn't move and he couldn't punch us, his head would spawn up here. So stage 1, we're doing damage just to his head. And then stage 2, he couldn't move, and his body is the hitbox in stage 2. So we basically just shoot straight down, and the damage is done to his head. As soon as his head is, oh my god, this thing out here. As soon as his head is killed, we're already shooting at his body, and every shot hits no matter what. We can't miss because he can't move. He's stuck in there. And then since he can't move and his arms can't swing and get in the way because of these blocks, we never hit the arms. So it was a huge advantage. It took like maybe 2.5 seconds off our previous times of just trying to just spawn him out in the world. Maybe almost even 3 seconds off the time. And getting into top times for Golem. So far, this run was 4.35 seconds. It was the fastest I've seen on YouTube. I've Googled it. I've gone through YouTube, and the fastest video I could find was 17.23 seconds. And so my 4.35 blew that out of the water. Just way faster. And I think I can improve it yet. I'm pretty sure we can get a sub 4 second time. I'm going to show you why right now. So if I fire up Premiere, make this a little bit bigger, you'll see We got the video queued up here. Let me get to the bigger portion of it, maybe. There we go. Just keep your eye over here. Let me get to where the timer starts. Okay, so we're at 0.00. And so let me get into one more thing before we get going onto this timer. When we were doing the run, we summoned the pygmy using the pygmy staff because we thought, any extra damage, increases DPS. That's right. More damage the better, right? Well, not necessarily in this case, because the pygmy is able to hit this thing way faster. Like, he knows it spawns because he's AI, and he hits it like the second it spawns with no delay. And I didn't think about that because I wanted it to spawn the boss and then like take a second and then start shooting it. But he hit it before I was ready to start. The pygmy attacked it, and so what we did is, to make it fair and official, we had to start the timer as soon as any damage had been done to the boss. So I'll go through this frame by frame. As soon as we get to 0.01, that's when I started the timer. You can see this 30 here. It's really faint. It's just starting to come in. It was the pygmy hitting it, doing the first tick of damage. And you're going to see the pygmy gets in 2 hits before I even start shooting. And those 2 hits took quite a long time. So if I scrub through this, so he's done 1 tick of damage. He's about to do a second. Right there, you can see he's done his second tick of damage. He did 35, and that's and then like a frame later, actually about that same time, you can see it looks like a colored block on his head, but that's actually my first tick of damage, starting small and growing. So my first tick of damage comes in right here. That's right where it appears. I'll go back 1 frame. Oh, maybe 2 frames. Okay, it's gone. Keep your eyes right there. 1 frame forward, now it's there. So 0.29 seconds is when I actually hit it for the first time. So in this case, I thought the pygmy would improve my DPS, and technically it improved my DPS, but it slowed down my boss kill. So what I'm going to do in the future is just not use the pygmy, because his damage isn't helping me. It's not, 30 damage isn't going to improve this time at all. So, 4.35 was the time on this boss kill. Technically, minus this 2.9, this 0.29, it was quicker. It was closer to a 4-second run. So in the future, I'm gonna not use the pygmy, and I'm gonna tweak my gear a little bit and see if we can get a sub 4-second run. And the other thing that I did about 4 or 5 runs using my build to kill this thing, and they were all between like 4.35 and like 4.56, and all in between there during the times, and it's all based on the percent of hitting crits, because all the damage is really being done by crits. When we crit, we're almost hitting 1,000 damage, so the crits really do matter. And since it's percentage generated, I'd have to do like 10, 20 runs using my build to get the lowest time. So I think sub 4 seconds is definitely possible. And if you're wondering what the DPS on this video was, the DPS, basically, if you fire up the Terraria wiki, if you come here and look at the golem, it says his max life is 35,000. That's true if you count each fist. But since we didn't kill each fist, go ahead and knock 12,000, because they each have 6,000 HP. So go ahead and knock 12,000 off that. And he's only got 23,000 HP then at that point. So that's what we used to calculate the DPS. We basically took 23,000, which is his health minus the fists, 23,000 divided by 4.35 seconds, and it gives us, we were doing 5,287 point blah 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 damage per second. So 5287 DPS, definitely not bad, but that's how we did it. So in the future, we're not going to use the pygmy, since he kind of slowed us down a little bit. And then so let's get into the gear I used for this run. So full Shroomite set for my helmet, chest, and legs. So I'll just cover the stats that were important because some of these have stats that didn't improve the damage at all. So the Shroomite Mask had 15% bullet damage. That's huge, and then a 5% crit strike chance. That's 5%. That's good. Shroomite Breastplate had 13% crit strike chance. That was awesome. Shroomite Leggings 7% crit strike chance. Definitely worth it. And then my accessories. We've got the Destroyer emblem, which gave 10% increased damage, 8% crit strike chance, and then since it's menacing prefix, a plus 4% damage on top of that. The Avenger emblem, 12% increased damage, and then since it's a menacing prefix, another 4% damage on top of that. The Ranger emblem, 15% increased range damage, and then because of the menacing prefix, again, another 4% bonus damage. Menacing Eye of the Golem, 10% increased crit strike chance, and because it's menacing, 4% damage. And then the last piece is the Menacing Sunstone. Wear it during the day, you get 10% extra damage, I believe. I need to check the wiki to be sure on that, but then its menacing prefix gives us plus 4% damage. And then the weapon we used was the Hasty Coin Gun. Hasty being the prefix. The coin gun, Hasty gave it 12% speed, 12% fire rate, which improved the DPS. The 15% velocity didn't really help at all. And the ammo we were using was we were shooting platinum coins. It's very expensive. It took a long time to farm. And then we also had donations from viewers on Twitch and some of my friends. So I can only do boss runs every once in a while. After we farmed up enough platinum, it's very pricey. But so the gun we're using, coin gun. But my goal is to speedrun all the bosses in the game as quickly as possible. Right now I'm working on Plantera and working on a good arena, a good way to spawn lock her or do something to bring her down pretty quick. But I can tell you it's going to be sub 10 seconds for sure. I'm going to claim this as the world record until somebody posts one that is faster, and then I'll take down this as the world record and try and beat it. But thanks guys for watching. If you're interested in more videos like this, please subscribe, or you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ProDangles. I stream almost every day. Thanks guys, take it easy.